During the school sports day, an unexpected stampede occurred. In the midst of the chaos, Alden Kevin embraced the beautiful, poor female student and left the crowd, abandoning me, who was lost in the sea of people and didn't know what to do. Everyone thought that a young lady from the Farrah family, like me, would immediately confront her fiancé to settle the score. But I never showed up, and Alden Kevin, after successfully pursuing that poor girl, began to ask about me. This was because on that very sports day, I had accidentally broken the new phone of the Alexander family's young master. Its price was only a little over $10,000, but my family had just gone bankrupt, and I couldn't afford to pay. I called Alden Kevin to borrow money. Not only did he refuse to help, but he also cursed me, called me crazy, and hung up. At that moment, I stood on my toes and kissed Egan Alexander on the lips, saying, "I agree to your proposal from last night." Egan Alexander wiped a tear from the corner of my eye, his finger lightly tracing the velvet fabric of the mini dress I was wearing, and asked, "So what should you call me now, boyfriend?" I stood in the exclusive bar amidst the glittering lights and noisy music. The last time I was here was 3 months ago, when Alden Kevin was rejected by the poor girl named Carol and drank himself into a drunken stupor. As I walked in, murmurs came from a nearby VIP table. "Alden, you guessed right. Jennifer Farrah immediately came looking for you the moment she heard you and Carol were together. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear." Jennifer Farrah, Alden called you and you didn't answer. You didn't reply to his texts. 3 shots penalty first. In front of me was Alden Kevin, his expression slightly damp. Next to him, Carol had already poured 3 shots of liquor. Alden Kevin pushed the glasses toward me one by one. I advanced, but walked past Alden Kevin and sat down next to Egan Alexander, who was known as the crown prince of the wealthy circles. All eyes shifted from eager anticipation to astonishment, then back to excitement. After all, no one dared to approach Egan Alexander. They clearly thought I was looking for trouble. Egan Alexander's gaze lingered on my pale legs exposed by the super short dress. A second later, his jacket was draped over me, his fingertips lightly brushing my skin. A burning heat, like fire. I subtly pressed down on his restless hand. No one in the bar, including my fiancé Alden Kevin, knew that Egan Alexander and I had been seeing each other for 3 months. 3 months ago, on the school sports day, the orderly stadium suddenly saw a stampede. Panicked, I rushed toward Alden Kevin. When I grasped his hand, I thought I was saved. But he pushed me away, because Carol had been shoved. She stumbled and accidentally bumped into Alden Kevin. Their eyes met, and in that moment, all fairy tales faded into the background. All eyes turned to them, as if witnessing a perfect main couple's first encounter. Alden Kevin didn't disappoint. He picked her up, leaving me with a cold back. He said, "Jennifer Farrah, you know more ways to handle things than she does." That's right. I was the young lady of the Farrah family, admired and feared by everyone. I was the only daughter of the most powerful and affluent family in City A. In a small stampede, no one dared to touch me. But he didn't know my family had gone bankrupt. My father, if you said he didn't hide it well, then half the business community knew. If you said he hid it well, my fiancé was still unaware. I wanted to chase after them, but at a single glance from Carol, her close friends rushed over, blocking my view of Alden Kevin. I was pushed backward by the crowd, helplessly swept away. A stampede is terrifying. Minor injuries are lucky. Death is possible. Fear consumed my mind. I wanted to escape the crowd, but my limbs wouldn't obey. Until I crashed into a firm chest. The person was a head taller than me. After the collision, he pulled me back with immense force, practically dragging me out of the crowd with one hand. That was Egan Alexander, the crown prince of the Alexander family, the only publicly announced heir. Behind me, one of his friends sighed and said, "Egan Alexander's phone is broken. It was a new one. What a shame." It was my fault that the phone broke. It slipped from his hand when I collided with him. I didn't dare to look up because Egan Alexander's eyes were fixed on me, never leaving. He leaned in and whispered in my ear, "It's not very expensive, just over 10,000. Miss Jennifer certainly has the means to compensate, doesn't she?" No, I didn't. To help my father pay off debts, I had sold all my designer items. I didn't even have 1,000 yuan left, let alone over 10,000. I quickly took out my phone and called Alden Kevin. When the call connected, I sighed in relief and said, "Alden Kevin, can you lend me 10,000? To my surprise, he snapped, "Jennifer Farrah, I tolerated you clinging to me, but at least your past tricks were more sophisticated. Now you're borrowing money? Are you crazy? The young lady of the Farrah family can't afford 10,000? Is the dress you're wearing today from a street vendor? Do you also want to imitate Carol and pretend to be a poor student? Do you think that will make me notice you more? I'm telling you, you're not even worth her little finger. Even if you were truly short 10,000, I wouldn't give it to you. You deserve to suffer a little too." He hung up. When I called back, his phone was off. Egan Alexander stood beside me, chuckling softly. "Your fiancé doesn't seem willing to help at all." Egan Alexander spoke again. His tone was still cold and devoid of emotion. I reached out, looped my arms around his neck, and softly said, "Then I've changed my mind. I agree to your proposal from last night." The day before the sports event, Egan Alexander had sought me out. He showed me my father's debt statement and said that if I agreed to be with him, he would take care of the debt. I refused then, still holding on to my illusion about Alden Kevin. But now, he wouldn't even lend me 10,000, let alone that massive debt. Egan Alexander tilted his head, his eyes showing a hint of surprise. I gave a faint smile and said, "You're right. I was truly blind before." Egan Alexander tossed the broken phone into the trash, picked me up, and left. He whispered, "I'm giving you a chance to tease me, but I won't give you a chance to regret it. Jennifer Farrah, you are mine now. Forever." Carol's voice pulled me back to reality. "Sister Jennifer is late. You have to drink a penalty." I glanced at her, then raised my hand and poured the 3 shots of liquor into the trash can. "Who said I was late? Is there a set time? Why didn't anyone inform me?" I watched Alden Kevin's eager smile, which instantly froze on his face. Before, I was brainless, only having eyes for Alden Kevin. I believed everything he said. I never dared to go against his wishes, just fearing his anger. But now, I dared to confront him head on. Carol immediately pouted, her beautiful eyes welling up with tears. She was the quintessential delicate little flower, and a poor student at that. Alden Kevin's face showed clear distress. He looked at me with disgust and said, "Jennifer Farrah, when will you ever fix your aggressive attitude? Carol just wanted to greet you." He gritted his teeth. His expression was furious. Seeing his reaction, I felt pity. Not for Carol, but for Alden Kevin. I had thought I was blind, but now I knew he was even blinder. There are many ways to greet someone, so why choose that way? I pushed a bottle of liquor toward him, the label clearly stating 92 proof, and said, "You drink these 3 shots first, then tell me if I'm causing trouble. Any sober person knows what Carol's intentions are." Everyone looked at each other, unsure whether to side with me or Carol. Just then, Egan Alexander spoke coldly. "Didn't you just brag that your new girlfriend was gentle, sweet, and considerate?" The moment his words rang out, the entire seating area fell silent. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see what would happen. Someone tried to mediate. "Drinking 92 proof liquor continuously is deadly. Don't joke like this." "That's right, we're just having fun. Don't let it ruin the atmosphere." Everyone spoke while looking at Egan Alexander's expression. Although they didn't understand the hidden meaning in his words, seeing the coldness on his face soften, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, proving they had chosen the right side. Seeing everyone defending me, Carol immediately rushed into Alden Kevin's arms, feigning distress. "It's my first time at a party like this. It's normal that I don't know anything. I just wanted to be close to Sister Jennifer." She changed her tone in a flash. Alden Kevin, like a king who had lost his mind, immediately defended her. "Carol didn't know anything. That's why she caused the misunderstanding. You don't need to be so petty as to bully her." His meaning was clear. No matter what, the fault was mine. I thought if this had happened before, I would definitely feel wronged and wouldn't know what to do. But now, my heart was strangely calm. Someone said, "Bringing someone who doesn't even know what 92 proof liquor is to such a high-class party, young Master Alden? You should discipline your new girlfriend a little. Otherwise, people will think your girlfriend is embarrassing." Egan Alexander spoke up, his eyes still on me. "My girlfriend is different. She knows how to dance, play instruments, paint, taste wine, perform the tea ceremony, and ride horses. She's good at everything." Everyone gasped. "Egan has a girlfriend? Which young lady is that lucky? When will you bring our sister-in-law to meet us?" Everyone was surprised. Egan Alexander was famously scandal-free. For him to personally admit that he was in love was truly rare. Everyone's curiosity was immediately piqued. Egan Alexander spoke while secretly gripping my hand under the table. "Don't worry. You'll meet her soon." His grip was a little strong, which startled me into pulling back. He had been asking me when I would make our relationship public these past few days. It felt like he was pushing me into a corner. Alden Kevin also chimed in. "Egan, our relationship is so good. I should be the first person you tell. You know, I've had a gift ready for your future sister-in-law for a long time." Egan Alexander curled his lips, saying meaningfully, "Then take it out now." Alden Kevin was surprised. "You mean your girlfriend is here?" Alden Kevin looked at every girl around the table, his gaze finally resting on me. Alden Kevin turned to Egan Alexander, playing the mediator. "For my sake, don't hold a grudge against her anymore. After all, she is my fiancé." Egan Alexander glanced at me, the corner of his mouth twitching into an uncontrollable smile. I was truly worried. He would reveal our relationship on the spot. Not because I was afraid of Alden Kevin knowing, but because the time wasn't right yet. Due to the marriage alliance, the business relationship between the Farrah and Kevin families had lasted too long and was too deeply entangled. It couldn't be severed with just a word. Every project involved money, and businessmen always valued their reputation. I was the one who would take over the Farrah family's business later. I had to be cautious. I couldn't harm the family's interests for personal feelings. Egan Alexander smiled and said, "Don't worry. I won't hold a grudge against Miss Jennifer." I quietly sighed in relief, quickly raised my glass of fruit wine, clinked it against his, and said, "Then I thank young Master Egan for his generosity on my own behalf." The moment our glasses touched, Egan Alexander's eyes swept over me. Black fire seemed to be burning in those dark eyes. Was he still in the mood to tease me in this situation? I quickly finished my drink and excused myself. I was only worried that my relationship with Egan Alexander would be discovered sooner than expected. I had only left for a moment when I received a text message from Alden Kevin. "Jennifer Farrah, you've changed a lot since the sports day. You keep your distance and don't cling to me anymore. But do you know that's very rude? I just helped you out. If you want to thank me, wait outside the door. After the party, I'm taking Carol to the hotel to look at the stars. You can come along if you want." I just glanced at it, immediately deleted the message, and blocked his number. Right at that moment, I received a message from my father. "Good girl. You've seen the moon from behind the clouds.
The last project between our family and the Kevin family has concluded. I sat in the car waiting for Egan Alexander, taking off my high heels, intending to relax for a bit. But he came out earlier than I expected. I looked at him with curiosity and asked, "What's wrong?"
Not playing anymore? Egan Alexander opened the car door, sat in the driver's seat, and started the engine, chuckling contemptuously. Since I was little, I haven't liked green tea types. The tea smell is too strong in there. Besides, my leading lady has left the party. What's the fun in staying alone? He said this while driving out of the parking spot. At that moment, people from the party started coming out to retrieve their cars. Alden Kevin and his friends happened to see Egan Alexander and simultaneously bid him farewell. I covered my forehead, helplessly saying, "Egan Alexander, you are too childish." He pretended not to notice and deliberately said, "Who told Alden Kevin he was too stupid? You were sitting right next to me, and he still didn't suspect you were my girlfriend. Jennifer, if you don't publicly announce it, I'm seriously going crazy." As he spoke, he intentionally knocked over the box of tissues on the armrest, revealing an exquisite box underneath. Inside was a pair of rings. It was obvious that he had prepared them a long time ago. He smiled and continued, "Jennifer, you're right. I am childish. If you had agreed to announce it just now, I would have put the ring on you in front of them. But now, whether they know or not, I still want to put it on you." Before I could react, the ring gently slid onto my ring finger. The coldness jolted me awake. He glanced out the window. His eyes were full of pride. Alden Kevin seemed to finally spot me and started walking over to knock on the car window. But Egan Alexander stepped on the gas and drove away, leaving Alden Kevin standing there. His face was a mixture of surprise and confusion. Large families like ours always valued ceremony. Since I wanted to cancel the engagement, my parents quickly contacted the Kevin family to return the betrothal gifts. As for the Alexander family, they immediately sent Egan Alexander's birth chart to my house. My mother's eyes lit up. "I invited a master to look at it. Your and Egan's birth charts are a perfect match. The 5 elements generate and complement each other. There are no conflicts. You truly are a match made in heaven." I suspected my mother had been fooled by some fortune teller. Who among us young people still believed in that stuff? But I nodded repeatedly, not wanting to dampen her excitement. Besides, what my mother said wasn't wrong. Egan Alexander was genuinely good. Actually, the one who regretted the most was me. Among Alden Kevin's friends, any random one was better than him. Yet I was so blind that I poured all my heart into someone unworthy. I had been very busy these past few days. Besides spending time with my parents, I also had to officially take over every business project that my father assigned me. Although I had previously participated in many negotiation sessions with my father, when I actually took on the responsibility, I still felt overwhelming pressure. Piles of thick documents were stacked on my desk. I knew they were truly preparing to hand over the entire Farrah family legacy to me. My mother said, "Actually, when you were 18, your father and I already intended to hand over the business to you. But at that time, you only had eyes for Alden Kevin, and your father and I clearly saw he wasn't a good person. If we had handed over the business to you then, you definitely would have given everything to the Kevin family. That's why we never brought it up." Now it was different, my mother said, because I was with Egan Alexander. I was a little puzzled and asked why my parents felt relieved when Egan Alexander and I were together. My father burst out laughing and said, "Because the Alexander family wouldn't even bother looking at our small family business. Even if we gave you all our assets, in their eyes, it would just be petty dowry." Furthermore, he said, "The recent business deals our family had were all supported by the Alexander family behind the scenes." I remained silent. I knew the distance between the two families, but I felt my parents were a bit too self-deprecating. While chatting, my phone kept receiving messages from an unknown number. It was Alden Kevin. He seemed furious that I had blocked his number. Every message was filled with anger and accusation. "You were only left behind by me during the sports day. Is that worth being so petty? You weren't hurt, were you? You're perfectly fine, aren't you? Are you angry because I'm dating Carol? Do you think Egan Alexander would truly look at you? He kept attacking me, lowering my status with vulgar words. I only texted back one sentence. Egan Alexander is not like you. He texted again, calling me petty and accusing me of seducing another man while still claiming to be his fiancé. He even smugly said that he had successfully won Carol over. I didn't reply again, because adding someone like him to the block list was still the most comfortable choice. After dealing with matters at home, I returned to school to continue my studies, as graduation was approaching. I decided to stay in the dorm for a few weeks to focus on my studies and thesis. There was an added benefit to staying in the dorm, hearing all the gossip, especially the whispers behind my back. The moment I walked in, I heard a few classmates whispering. Carol brought a bunch of designer bags to the room recently. I heard Alden Kevin even took her home to the Kevin family's house to sleep over. Is she really going to marry into a rich family? Jennifer, aren't you angry? Carol only uses her beautiful looks and the title of poor student to flirt with all the young masters. She even seduced your fiancé. I smiled and replied, he is no longer my fiancé. I have broken off the engagement with the Kevin family. By the way, let me introduce you. My current boyfriend and fiancé is Egan Alexander, a financial genius and the sole heir of the Alexander family. The entire room went silent. Everyone gasped in astonishment. Just like my parents, they simultaneously cursed Alden Kevin as a bastard and praised Egan Alexander profusely. It turned out everyone clearly saw Alden Kevin's true nature. Only I, as an insider back then, was too blinded to escape. At the same time, Egan Alexander texted, saying he wanted to eat a cake I made. He was much busier than me lately. Not only did he have to study, but he also had to manage the Alexander Group. My parents could temporarily help me manage the company's work, but Egan Alexander was different. He had to shoulder everything himself. I quickly finished baking the cake and brought it to the men's dormitory, intending to surprise him secretly. Since everyone was busy, almost everyone stayed at school, including Alden Kevin. When he saw me in the hallway, he sneered contemptuously, his eyes quickly stopping at the bag of cake in my hand. And he said, "Have you admitted your mistake? You even brought cake? Although it's not my favorite mango flavor, fine, I'll temporarily forgive you." With that, he reached out to take the cake. I immediately dodged. My voice was calm but firm. "I'm sorry, this cake is not for you. I'm bringing it to Egan Alexander." Then I walked past him. Alden Kevin folded his arms, sneering. "Jennifer Farrah, you're faking it too much. Do you think Egan Alexander would accept a cake made by you? Don't humiliate yourself. He's my good brother. There's no way he would accept a cake from my ex-fiancé." Just then, a familiar male voice rang out from behind. Egan Alexander came out of the dorm, wiping his hair while walking toward me and said, "Who says I won't accept it?" He seemed to have just showered. His upper body was bare, his muscles firm, causing everyone to stare. He looked at the bag in my hand, smiling, and said, "Your favorite strawberry flavor, right?" Alden Kevin stood rooted to the spot. His face was stiff, unable to utter a word. Egan Alexander looked at Alden Kevin, then turned back to me. His expression was calm. Alden Kevin still managed to force out, "Egan, you don't need to act with her to save her face." Egan Alexander raised an eyebrow, looking at Alden Kevin with amusement, as if he were looking at an idiot. He said, "I'm not acting. I genuinely want to eat the cake Jennifer made herself." Egan Alexander deliberately emphasized the name Jennifer, making me blush. We hadn't seen each other in a while. He wasn't wearing a shirt, revealing his toned, muscular body, which was clearly defined and impossible to look away from. What girl wouldn't be attracted to six-pack abs? I was no exception. My eyes were completely drawn to him. Alden Kevin's voice rang out again. He's truly annoying. "Jennifer Farrah, where are your eyes looking?" I looked directly at him, saying calmly, "What if I'm looking at my boyfriend's abs?" Alden Kevin, you're being too noisy. I was about to leave with Egan Alexander when Alden Kevin stepped in, blocking us. He glared at me and said, "My fiancé wants to seduce my good brother. I can't ignore this." His neck was red with anger. It was truly ridiculous. Before, when I was so in love with him, chasing after his every step, he never acknowledged me as his fiancé. Yet today, he kept referring to me as his fiancé. It was nauseating. I looked at him with a sincere gaze and said, "Alden Kevin, your information is too slow. Didn't your parents tell you? Our engagement is canceled. I am no longer your fiancé." I spoke every word clearly, secretly finding it funny. I thought he already knew. After all, he had already brought Carol home to meet his parents. When we were still engaged, he dated countless girls in front of me, but never brought anyone home. Yet now, he brought Carol home. Wasn't that proof he knew about the canceled engagement? Alden Kevin was stunned. His expression shifted from fury to disbelief. "You said the engagement is canceled? How do I not know?" He questioned me urgently. His face was incredulous. Because he was so agitated, he reached out and grabbed my hand. I immediately pulled my hand back, answering coldly, "Go ask your parents about it. I don't know why they didn't tell you." Alden Kevin looked lost. I handed the cake to Egan Alexander, saying softly, "I know you're busy, so I won't disturb you for long. If you want more, text me. I'll make another one." Egan Alexander took it, intentionally letting our hands touch, which drew appreciative gasps from the people around us. Many couldn't help but take photos. I turned and walked away, while Egan Alexander carried the cake I made into his room. Alden Kevin stood there, his eyes watching me, full of confusion. As I walked down the stairs, I glimpsed him calling someone. He was probably calling his parents to confirm the canceled engagement. The news that I brought cake to the men's dorm for Egan Alexander quickly became a hot topic on the school forum. Everyone speculated wildly about the grudges and romance in the elite circles. Some said I deliberately retaliated because Alden Kevin dated so many girls, but never loved me. People also guessed that, perhaps, I chose to pursue Egan Alexander not for revenge, but simply because he was better. In terms of looks, education, and family background, Egan Alexander was far superior to Alden Kevin. Someone commented directly, "Isn't Jennifer Farrah finally seeing clearly? Choosing someone like Egan Alexander is perfectly right, isn't it? Watching the clip, it doesn't look like they're acting." But if it is acting, please continue, because they look perfect together. Someone else, claiming their family had business dealings with the Farrah family, confirmed that the Farrah family had indeed canceled the engagement with the Kevin family. Comments underneath pointed out, "Jennifer Farrah has never been this firm. This time, she must have completely lost all feelings for Alden Kevin." Then there were malicious comments. "So Carol has a chance now. Going from a poor student to a young, rich madam is just like a TV drama." My roommate showed me a screen of the hot comments. Someone discovered that a comment saying Carol had a chance to marry into a rich family had been liked by Carol's own account. But she quickly unliked it, making everyone believe the rumor was true even more. I paid no attention to the gossip. Living my own peaceful life was the best thing. Let them think what they want. It didn't affect me. However, soon after, the posts about me bringing cake to the men's dorm for Egan Alexander were all deleted. My roommate said Alden Kevin paid people to delete the posts. The people who posted them made a decent profit, but less than half an hour after they were deleted, a series of new posts appeared, all praising Egan Alexander and me as a match made in heaven. Based on the writing style, I immediately guessed Egan Alexander did it. "He's truly too childish," my roommate whispered. At first, we thought Carol was rich, but then she applied for a poor student subsidy. Her initial designer bag also vanished. Right after that, the rumor about the beautiful poor student spread throughout the school. I heard it, but treated it as amusing gossip and quickly forgot. I continued to attend classes regularly, spending most of my time finishing my graduation thesis. For me, a small thesis like this was nothing to worry about. It soon received praise from my advisor. Yet one day, Alden Kevin unexpectedly appeared at the women's dormitory. Everyone thought he was looking for Carol, but he ran all over the place asking for my room number. Finally, he stood in front of my room and asked, "Jennifer Farrah, you were the one who proposed canceling the engagement, right?" I looked at him, my voice indifferent. Yes. I truly had nothing left to say to him. A proper ex should be like a dead person, especially since the relationship between us was merely a nominal alliance, never true love. Alden Kevin gritted out, "Why do you want to break off the engagement? Is it because of Egan Alexander? You liked me so much. How could you suddenly turn around and like him? Are you getting revenge on me?" He questioned and answered himself as if it were certain. I smiled, shook my head, and said, "I don't have a hobby of seeking revenge on anyone." My parents always told me I had one flaw. I wouldn't stop until I hit a wall. I was once that stubborn about him. But I also have a strength. Once I gain clarity, I absolutely never look back. I simply figured things out. I genuinely don't like him anymore. It's that simple. I kept my voice steady, completely unwavering. Don't be so narcissistic. There's no revenge here. However, your girlfriend Carol seems quite complicated. If you have time, you should investigate her yourself. That was the last thing I wanted to say to him. Then I turned away. Alden Kevin, unwilling to accept it, stepped forward and blocked me, asking, "You brought up Carol. Does that mean you're jealous?" Whether I was jealous or not, I knew better than anyone. My roommates, seeing that I truly didn't want to argue, made an excuse that they needed to change clothes and invited Alden Kevin to leave. He reluctantly left, but not before saying, "Don't worry, I'll deal with Carol." I later found out his way of dealing with Carol was breaking up with her because of me. Carol angrily blocked me on the way back to the dorm. Her voice was full of hatred. "I truly underestimated you. You really know how to play the long game by retreating to advance." I replied indifferently, "I did retreat, but not the way you think. I canceled the engagement with the Kevin family because I am no longer available for Alden Kevin. I don't care if you continue dating Alden Kevin or if you marry into a wealthy family. That's your business. But don't drag me into everything. If you are suffering from paranoia, you should go see a doctor." I didn't dislike her for being a poor student, but for her falsehood, hypocrisy, and skillful disguise. Carol was about to argue further when Egan Alexander walked up and shielded me. He said coldly, "I advise you to swallow everything you plan to say, or I will make sure you can no longer exist in City A." His icy gaze silenced Carol. She could only watch as Egan Alexander held my hand and led me away. As soon as we turned our backs, I saw Carol raise her phone and snap a picture of our backs, seemingly intending to send it to Alden Kevin. That evening, my phone was constantly ringing with calls from an unknown number. I had just finished showering. Before I could figure out what was happening, Egan Alexander was laughing, playing with my phone as if it were a game. He didn't block or delete the number. When the other party called, he hung up. When they called again, he hung up again. I frowned and said, "Egan Alexander, stop being so childish." I tried to take the phone to block the number, but he dodged. I tumbled straight into his arms. He embraced me, burying his face in the hollow of my neck, taking a deep breath and asking, "What shampoo is that? It smells so good." I laughed and replied, "If you like it, take the whole bottle home and use it." Before I could react, his hand slipped, and he accidentally pressed the answer button on an incoming call. His lips found mine, gently savoring me like a favorite dish, little by little, tenderly yet irresistible. I, on the other hand, couldn't hold back. I wrapped my arms around his neck and sat on him, separated only by a towel. Our bodies pressed together, making me feel a fire burning. Egan Alexander asked, "Jennifer, didn't you say you didn't miss me?" I pouted. Who said that? He pretended to be wronged. You took forever to reply to my texts and wouldn't even answer my calls. I feigned anger, gently pinching his hip. Don't talk nonsense. I never replied more than 10 minutes late, and phone calls were practically together all night. He grinned broadly and said, but that's still not enough for me. You were busy the last few days, so you have to make it up to me 8 times. Can you handle it? I teased back. That's a small matter. Egan Alexander, like a child given candy, smiled radiantly and hugged me tightly, utterly content. At that moment, Alden Kevin's furious roar blared from the still active phone. Jennifer Farrah, where are you? Who are you with? Alden Kevin heard Egan Alexander's voice beside me. He yelled through the phone. Egan Alexander! Jennifer Farrah is my fiancé. If you dare touch her, we are finished. Egan Alexander glanced at me and replied nonchalantly, she is my fiancé now. Alden Kevin, you are right. Jennifer Farrah really has more tricks up her sleeve than your pretty poor girl. For example, changing fiancés. Regardless of Alden Kevin's shouts on the other end, Egan Alexander resolutely hung up and immediately powered off the phone. Alden Kevin's insistence on chasing me was making my head pound. To my surprise, even his mother started contacting me. Since she was an elder, I gritted my teeth and agreed to meet her. As soon as we met, she started. Jennifer, our families have canceled the engagement. I really shouldn't be looking for you anymore. But I never expected that after the cancellation, you and Alden would be even more entangled than before. Hearing this, I felt annoyed. What do you mean, more entangled? I clearly had no contact with him anymore. I set my coffee cup down, stared at her, and asked directly, Auntie, how much money do you want to give me? Her eyes flashed with confusion, but I was even more confused. I continued, didn't you call me here to give me money and ask me to stay away from your son? If so, I was ready to accept. It would be a waste not to. She quickly denied. You misunderstand. I don't want you to stay away from Alden. I hope you can reconsider your relationship. Alden still has feelings for you. His spirits have been very low since he found out about the cancellation. My headache worsened at this. She continued, Egan Alexander's family might be more powerful than ours, but you and Alden were childhood sweethearts. You understand each other since childhood. Her attitude made me nauseous. I gave a faint smile and said, Auntie, that's not fair. When Alden and I were engaged, he dated one person after another. Did you say anything? Even when he brought a girlfriend home to sleep over while still engaged, you didn't object. When I took back my dowry and proposed canceling the engagement, you didn't speak up. Now you say you want me to come back because he's sad? Auntie, you really are something. I spoke while stirring my coffee, feeling a sense of relief. If Egan Alexander and I hadn't gone public, would Alden Kevin have looked for me? Would anyone in the Kevin family have considered my feelings? No. Back then, they closed their eyes to who he loved and what he did, as long as I was obedient enough and a suitable, rich daughter-in-law. They never saw me as a person. Now that they had lost their easily controllable daughter-in-law, and their son was depressed because of me, they rushed to persuade me to return, instead of persuading their son. Such double standards. I couldn't accept it anymore. Nor did I need to be polite. Her face flushed, clearly stung by my words. I was very satisfied and concluded, if you're not giving me money, I'll take my leave. I pulled 500 yuan from my wallet, placed it on the table, and stood up to leave. Her face was stiff, but as a rich madam, she maintained her composure, avoiding a public outburst. From then on, apart from occasionally hearing small talk from my roommates or mutual friends about Alden Kevin, I barely paid attention to him. Because after graduation, I began to take over the family business, busy to the point of exhaustion. But one thing made me both annoyed and amused. Egan Alexander kept pressuring me to give him an official title. We hadn't been dating for long, but he always acted as if our future was sealed, saying, Jennifer, you know my heart, right? Why haven't you been paying attention to me lately? Am I making things difficult for you? It's okay. I won't give up. At least post something with me to announce our engagement. If you don't want to go public, fine. Let's post a story or change our matching profile pictures. Oh my God. When he pulled me out of the crowd at the sports event, why didn't I realize he was such a chatterbox? I told him to wait until I finished my work. His eyes would cloud over, and his lips would pout as if the sky was falling. Seeing him like that, I couldn't bear it. I took out my phone, took a picture with him, and said, "All right, let's go public. It's bound to happen sooner or later. Keeping it a secret doesn't mean anything." Egan Alexander beamed with joy, quickly hugging my neck. The matching rings on his hand were sparkling. As soon as the photo was posted, both our parents congratulated us. His mother even tagged me online, calling me her future daughter-in-law. Blogger accounts rushed to repost it. Soon, the news of my engagement to Egan Alexander spread throughout City A. Looking at the flood of notifications, he smiled radiantly, like a child given candy. I borrowed his computer to view a report and accidentally saw the web page he had just opened was Facebook. The topics he searched for made me want to faint. How to make your girlfriend forget her ex. How to make your girlfriend love you more. What kind of boyfriend do girls like? Does pouting work? What to do if your girlfriend won't go public? That was one of the hottest questions I saw on Egan Alexander's Facebook account. I burst out laughing. Oh my God, Egan Alexander, you are truly a hopeless child. He, on the other hand, wasn't embarrassed at all and said proudly, "How would a cold person get a wife?" I don't know if it was because he saw the news of my engagement to Egan Alexander flooding the internet, but Alden Kevin ran to the bottom of my house again. It was raining heavily that day. He stood there without an umbrella, deliberately soaking in the rain to put on a pitiful act to make me soft. But I just found it annoying. I was only worried about being photographed by the paparazzi who specialize in rich family drama. I told someone to bring him an umbrella. He didn't take it and took the opportunity to rush into my house. He said sincerely, "Jennifer, I thought a lot lately. I truly shouldn't have treated you like that before. I shouldn't have publicly dated other people in front of you." I cut him off before he could finish. "You treated me that way because you thought I liked you, so you could do whatever you wanted. You don't regret not loving me. You regret losing control. Now that I don't like you anymore, you're going crazy." I spoke and turned to look out the door. I saw Carol standing in the rain with an umbrella, her hand placed on her stomach. Her eyes were both arrogant and provocative. My guess was right. She probably really was pregnant. Alden Kevin quickly shook his head and said, "I broke up with her. She's no longer my girlfriend. She's the one who keeps clinging to me." How ridiculous. He repeated the exact phrase he once used with me to justify himself. I looked him straight in the eye and said, "I don't care who you love or hate. I just want you to know I don't like you anymore. My boyfriend now is Egan Alexander. From now on, stop bothering me." I motioned to the house helpers. They collectively pushed Alden Kevin outside. After he was pulled out the door, I instructed the staff to clean the spot where he had been standing. After going public, Egan Alexander became even more anxious to hold the wedding ceremony. Despite being busy with business, he handled everything smoothly. I, on the other hand, had no time to plan the wedding with him. Everything related to the wedding was pre-selected by him. I only needed to look it over and nod. Everything happened so fast that it made me feel a little panicked. I didn't know why I felt nervous. From a university student, I quickly took over the family company, then abruptly went public, got engaged, and was now about to get married. It felt like everything was happening too quickly. Egan Alexander pouted, as if he had actually been betrayed. "So you plan to make me wait another 2 years so you can fall for someone else and leave me?" He acted so convincingly that I just wanted to turn off all the Facebook pages he often scrolled through. He spent all day searching for dating tips that even made me exhausted. Finally, Egan Alexander and I went to register our marriage first. The moment our marriage certificate photo appeared on social media, my close friends group immediately exploded. But the most shocking news at the time was that Carol was pregnant, but Alden Kevin denied it. Alden's mother couldn't bear to let her grandchild wander, so she bought Carol a villa to rest and prepare for the baby. But afterward, the Kevin family faced a financial crisis, and Carol aborted the baby and disappeared. Everyone realized that the quiet, poor student was just an act. Someone shared that their boyfriend cheated with a mistress whose face looked exactly like Carol's. A few days later, my friends kept sending me rumors about her past being dug up. It turned out that before transferring to my school, Carol had studied nursing and was simultaneously involved with multiple men. When she was discovered, she requested a transfer to start a new life. One of them was a married man. When his wife found out, Carol promised to end the relationship if she was allowed to transfer schools. She didn't take long after transferring to set her sights on Alden Kevin, using her feigned weakness to attract him. I sat by the window, drinking coffee and reading all the news in the group chat. No wonder she targeted Alden Kevin from the first day she transferred to my school. At that time, the Kevin family was still prosperous. Who would have thought they would decline so quickly? Since my family canceled the cooperation and allied with the Alexander family, other major families also simultaneously withdrew their capital from the Kevin family. I wasn't sure if Egan Alexander had a hand in it, but I knew for sure that everyone wanted to curry favor with the Alexander family. After all, the Alexander family was now the wealthiest elite in City A. Businessmen are more sensitive to opportunity than a change in the wind direction. When the capital flow met a crisis, Alden's parents sought out my parents, pleading for help. But my parents firmly refused. Back then, when Alden Kevin had a new lover and treated me like trash, they didn't see me as a person. When I proposed canceling the engagement, they handled it quickly. Now that their family was in trouble, they turned to mine for help, thinking my parents were easily manipulated. To help me vent my anger, my parents said directly, "No matter who mediates, we will not agree." We didn't intervene, and the other major families remained silent. The day the Kevin family's assets were liquidated, Egan Alexander and I were on vacation. It was half a month later when we returned, just in time for the wedding. My custom-made wedding dress was finished. Wearing it, I felt like a princess stepping out of a fairy tale. Egan Alexander couldn't stop taking pictures of me, his face filled with pride and love. If he hadn't had to answer a work call, he probably wouldn't have stopped. As I was admiring myself in the mirror, a man with a ragged beard suddenly appeared behind me. It was Alden Kevin. Looking haggard and strongly smelling of alcohol, he said, "Jennifer, I came to your house to look for you the other day. Your parents said you were traveling. Now you're back. Why won't you see me? I know now. I know everything that happened before we canceled the engagement. On sports day, I truly didn't know your family went bankrupt. I thought you were borrowing money because you wanted to imitate Carol and pretend to be a poor student." His words this time were much more sincere than the last time at the dorm. I turned around, my wedding dress lightly sweeping the floor. I looked him straight in the eye and replied softly, "I accept your apology. After all, you did wrong me." Alden Kevin immediately smiled with relief. Then he pointed at the wedding dress I was wearing and asked, "Isn't this the dress you once said you would custom design for our wedding?" I shook my head. "No, this is the dress I designed for myself, but it is not related to who the groom is." His eyes glazed over. He took a long time to speak. "If I hadn't abandoned you that day, if you hadn't let go, perhaps the ending wouldn't be like this now." I gently continued, "You're right, because back then, Jennifer Farrah was too stubborn." Alden Kevin's eyes were red-rimmed. Just then, Egan Alexander finished his phone call and walked in. Alden Kevin, like a thief, immediately fled the bridal shop. Perhaps he wouldn't return again. Egan Alexander asked who it was. I simply replied, "Someone unimportant." After the wedding, Egan Alexander and I were each busy managing our respective companies. I had thought my life would change completely after marriage, but everything remained the same, except that when I woke up every morning, the person next to me was my husband. My former circle of friends also quieted down. One day, news broke again. Carol was beaten by her lover's wife and had to be hospitalized. This news even made it onto major newspapers, causing a stir. At this moment, I coincidentally sifted through a pile of documents on Egan Alexander's desk and discovered an old photo. It was a picture of him with a little girl. My eyes immediately widened. The little girl was me when I was young. I asked him in surprise, "Egan Alexander, did we meet when we were children?" Since childhood, he was a child prodigy, not because he wanted to be, but because he was not allowed to live an ordinary life. His childhood was filled with books and countless skill classes, devoid of friends and freedom. Every time he appeared in public, he was isolated from other children. This was because parents always reminded their children that he was the heir of the Alexander family, and if they played with him and something happened, the whole family would suffer the consequences. So everyone avoided him, except one person. It was the only daughter of the Farrah family. The little girl was like sunshine. She came and warmed him up. He once asked the little girl, "Will you be my friend forever?" The little girl smiled innocently. "Yes, I will." He said again, "Then be my wife. Only husbands and wives stay together forever." I didn't know that the boy from all those years ago had always remembered that promise. But I, Jennifer Farrah, forgot him and got engaged to someone else. I chased after Alden Kevin, changed myself because of him, transforming from a vibrant girl into a resigned woman. Egan Alexander, like a ghost, hid in the dark corner, observing me, waiting for a small opportunity to step into the light. When the Farrah family went bankrupt, he forcefully inserted himself into my life, leaving me no way out. He learned online about how to be a good boyfriend, just to play the role of my perfect lover. What Alden Kevin discarded like trash was the treasure Egan Alexander fought with all his might to obtain. He said, "I am willing to be your subject." Fortunately, the final outcome was a happy ending. All the hurts had passed. We were the light at the end of the tunnel, warming and illuminating each other.